Going. Uh, mhm. Hello, everybody. You're watching Kamai. My name is Martin Majeski. We have a great show in store for you, and I'm very happy. I'm very glad to bring to you the fourth episode of Kamai. Now, we have a bit of a change in appearance, a bit of an alteration in aesthetics today, but that's because in my country we've had a bit of a comeback. We have a bit of a Corona comeback, and so we've had new measures imposed by the police. So now instead of the curfew starting at 7, it starts at 4, and so here we are in my crib, in my residence, and we're I don't have a studio, I don't have all the equipment, but hopefully we're gonna do something interesting still. The show must go on. The show must go on, and so we're gonna do it every Friday, and that's what's gonna happen. So apart from that, we've had a bit of a change in aesthetics, in something else. I no longer look like a wild man from the forest. I'm no longer the sage of the forest. Um, yeah, it's a nice, clean, wholesome cut. And hello? Yeah, wild man of the forest? Wrong number. Yeah, no longer. That's not me anymore. So, and that just goes to show that just gamers are, I guess, we're epic chads. We're, the media portrays us as these basement dwelling neckbeards. Well, we're not. We're handsome, we're high IQ, we're very charismatic, and we just know what we're doing. We're funny, we're confident, we know what we're talking about. Um, Today it's going to be a little bit different. Apart from the aesthetic change, we're going to have a little bit of a substantive change. We're going to be interacting a little bit more with the chat. We're going to be doing a bit of that. So I should get the old glasses so I can see, so I can focus the light onto my retina better. So we're going to be interacting with the chat. We're going to have an interactive talk show. None of the Jimmies are doing this. None of the Jimmies. How many Jimmies are there now? There's Jimmy X, Jimmy Y, Jimmy 1, Jimmy 3. They're all just Jimmies. So they're doing their thing. We're going to be doing something else. So Victoria Blarska says, "Nice living room. Thank you. It's where I stream, where I have all my Zoom calls with my class. It's um it's a nice setup, I think. Just sitting on the couch, chilling, and hopefully the audio is okay. I'm using the headphones because I got a bit of a mic over here, got a mic situation. Hello, Mike. Mike is in the house. Let's see. All right. So we got some people. Right. Victoria Blushka says, nice living room. Okay, so we do have a nice living room. We got a lot of books that you can't see, but we got a lot of books. And right next to me, I got all my university. Oops, shaking the laptop a little bit. We got all of these university uh, things that I've got going on. All of my research and my homework. Yesterday, I was like doing homework until 9 p.m. or something, and then I just fell asleep. And that was a good time, fun times. And Monday I have an exam. After that, hopefully I will be able to work on Sonder a bit more, which will be pretty cool. Gonna work on that. I'll write some stuff. So yeah, so if you would like to interact or have something interesting to say, you want your piece to be heard, just type it in the chat. We're gonna be reading it as we go along. And right, so today we're gonna be talking about, whoops, not used. We're gonna be talking a little bit about the difference between writing a video game versus writing something else, a story or a movie. And I have a little bit of experience with games right now, but I have a lot of experience with writing literature, stories, and novels and poems. So so as far as I can see, where the the difference um, between video games and literature is a little bit more than what meets the eye. I'm looking at myself. I need to put something else up because I need to focus on you right there. Right. It's like when you don't look a person in the eye and it's a little, what is this person doing? It's not an honest situation. So right. So the difference is more than what meets the eye. So at first glance, there are these obvious differences between games and books, which are that books are a sort of a medium where you'll be able to write basically anything you want. The things can not even make sense. They can be completely out of nowhere. Your mind is essentially the limit. And in video games, you're constrained by these rules, by these mechanics. So every game has, well, not every game, but most games typically have a game engine that they're created in, and you can't stray too far from the game engine because the people who are really knowledgeable in the game engine don't usually use it to create the game. Usually, other people use the game engine and they learn it, and then they use it to create the game that they would like to. So they are constrained by that. But also, apart from that, when you write books, you you don't have your only resource limit is the number of pages that you have available, the ink that you have available if you're Shakespeare, or if you're in modern times, the electricity that you have, or the uh, the tools or the laptop or whatever you use to write your works. But in video games, you sort of can't do everything. You have to be mindful, very, very mindful of the resources that are at your disposal. So the resources at your disposal are animations, because when you write books and there is a situation, there's a plot going on, and you just write it and it happens as you write it. But when you create a video game, all of those things that a character does, all of those things that happen, they're all things that somebody has to animate, and then the animations have to be put together in a sequential way so that they turn on when something happens, and they succeed each other, and they have a logical consistency to them that is created by the programmer, but also the artist. The 3D artist has to deliver that somewhere else. They have to work a real long time to create all these things. And when it comes to other things, you have, for example, voice acting. So voice acting has to be done completely separately, and then you have to put all those things in the game, and you have to create all these 3D environments. So for example, in a book, you could just write a sentence that is like, there were foods of different kinds on the table, which is, I wish there were foods of different kinds right now, right in front of me, but there are not. There's just university materials and my. Hmm, why are my comments not showing up? It's only on YouTube. All right. Mm, Victoria Blaska says, good point about finding stuff that can be animated. Can you talk about that with Sonder? Mm, yeah, yeah, I guess. I mean, we're a very small studio, and we have um a viewer. We don't have that many people. Like, if you take Ubisoft or EA, I guess, or any other big, huge company or corporation, they have sometimes hundreds, if not thousands, of people working on a game. So they can just they have a lot of resources. They have success, prior success, and they use that to invest in further projects, which makes sense. It's pretty cool if they're used properly. It's not all right. So the I think that the challenge with that is we sort of have to create things in Sonder that will be interesting, and at the same time they will utilize. They will be easier to create or in the 3D virtual space, and they'll be easier to I guess to animate, so it can't do all these crazy things, or a lot of things have to be done through various other means, which is going to be a challenge. But I'm up for the challenge. I I'm the best. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be okay. We're gonna we're gonna find ways to make it work. But um, the way that Sonder works is a little bit different from other games because the it's a very specific game where it's centered around you going around and sort of making choices for the characters, and the characters perform them in a cinematic way. I say cinematic because it resembles more it resembles a movie more than something like Super Mario, where you just have very specific rules and you need to follow them in order to reach the goal. But I imagine from the experience that I've received so far, I imagine that video games that are like The Witcher or Skyrim, they are not that um, they're not that difficult to write. They're because you can I don't know, maybe they are. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but the uh, the way that they work is probably most likely. So you have the game, and it's based on quests. It's based on performing missions and completing them, and doing doing what the prescribed story is, and then the non-linear part is the leveling up of the characters and choosing the different skills, and uh, you choose how to approach the quests in that manner. So the quests are linear, and the more effort goes into the gameplay and turning it into a fun experience, where I suppose some writing goes into that as well, because the leveling up of a character is sort of like character development in stories in movies. and you get from a level 1 character to a level 100, 1 trillion epic thug character. Oh no, thug is the lower level. The upper level is the legendary hero of Morrowind. I don't know. So that's a bit of a. I'm just checking. I'm constantly checking things because I don't have 2 monitors, and I'm just trying to get things done. All right, so hope the audio is okay. So writers also, when you start to write a story, you think of the story and you you create what you were thinking of, what you had thought of, you create. But when it comes to video games, I think that a lot of these big companies start off with we want to create a game, we want to make a game, and then we hire all these people to make the game. So there's no idea first and then execution. It's first planning and production, and then you get all these people putting things together. That's how I'm pretty sure that's how it goes down. But with independent studios, it's probably more of a we want to make a game. We have a vague idea of what we want to make, and we start it, and then we bring on writers if we have some sort of success going. Then we bring on writers, and we make the game sort of more polished in that department. And when it comes to books, when it comes to stories, the process of writing a book is something like you think of an idea, then you work the idea out, you flesh it out onto a piece of paper or just write it in a document on a computer, and you make an outline. That's very important. You make an outline of the story. You sort of know how it's going to start. You know what's going to happen in between in the meat of it, and then you know how it's going to end. You know what message you want to deliver. You know what tone you want it to have. You know what genre it's going to be, and this is how all of the literally all of the successful big stories and books get written. And what we keep getting told by I guess not told but sort of implied, and in some cases told, that by various media is that you just sit down and you start writing and you end up with something. Boom, you end up with this incredible book that everybody loves and you're worshipped and you're this epic awesome writer and you're like a pillar of the community. But that's not true. That's not true. Like in Limitless, this guy takes this drug, it makes him super smart, and then he just sits down and writes a book. Yeah, that's definitely how it works. That's definitely how all awesome books are written. So we have this example of these romantics where they say, well, William Wordsworth, he's a romantic poet, one of the most famous romantic poets. So he writes about how he's going through the countryside and then it came to him and then he just memorized in his head like 100 lines, and then like the 4 hours later when they reached the destination, then he wrote them down. Nonsense. That does not happen. It is not true. So it's the same with Coleridge. He wrote what? He wrote, "Don't bother the poet while he is writing, because he is creating masterpieces. Beware, beware his flashing eyes, his waving hair." No, that guy is lying through his teeth. He's not telling you the truth. That's not how it works. So there's a good essay called An Essay on Composition by Edgar Allan Poe, and he sort of talks about this, about how all of these great pieces are not just, you don't just sit down and just write it like a big brain, alien abducted, chip implanted genius. No, that's not how it works. So you sit down, you come up with the idea, you sort of put the idea in front of you, and then you start a sort of a construction. You start sort of a building process of the work, and then you sort of you have multiple layers of it. You have the semantic layer, which is the what you wanted to convey, the meaningful layer, and then you have the uh, formative layer, or the formal layer, the grammatical layer. So you apply the structure in. It's like you're trying to brew some beer. I don't know anything about brewing beer, but it's like trying to brew some beer. You have uh, all these pints in front of you, and you pour one by one, and then you want to make them all nice and neat and clean. By the way, I saw someone smash like now, slap like, and subscribe. But yeah, so you want to brew some beer, you pour it in everything, in every one of these pints. You pour the beer and you make it look neat and nice, and then it's ready to serve. It's not, you don't just take the beer and you splash it around and you hope that it gathers up into the shape of a glass, and then people can just come and sip it from the side. Like, you need some sort of a structure, you need some sort of a plan, and that's how books get written. That's how everything gets written, really. So it's if you start to write something, you're gonna end up like me. So I started writing my first book when I was like 18, and I didn't have a plan, I didn't have an outline. I believed this sort of thing before because I was naive. I was blue pilled, and I started writing this book, and I just thought, hey, this is gonna be easy. I have all these cool ideas, and I can just, I can be like Bradley Cooper from Limitless. And no, it took me ages to complete it. It took me years of recalculations, revamps, remasters. Imagine if Warcraft 3 was remastered like 10 times. How big of a disaster would that be? So don't do that. If you write something, plan it out. Mm, got something. Do we have anything in the chat? Do we? Nope. We got 4 people watching and nobody's joining the chat. Come on, people, join the conversation. Let's see. Nope. All right. Well, it looks like today's gonna be a shorter stream. Today it's gonna be a shorter episode. But hey, we had a couple of longer ones, so why not take it easy today? But we're. Darableska says, hey, back to you. So yeah, when you create an outline for a story, you you're essentially saying that you are serious about it. And Johnny says, do you want to talk about how different it is to work from home in this context? You mean the context of the coronavirus? Um, or like in the context of any sort of lockdown or curfew? Mm, well, for me personally, it's I don't have two monitors. I don't have an epic supercomputer. I just have my laptop, and I can't really run the engine well on my laptop because it heats it up super fast, and I don't really want to. I don't know. Is it gonna melt on me? I don't know what's gonna happen. So the context of stream. Hmm. Um. Well, I would say that starting it for the first time here in my area, my space is definitely a little bit more comfortable, but it felt like a first time, like I was streaming for the first time over there, except maybe maybe the experience that emotionally it felt like the first time, but I do have some experience from the previous three times, so that's why I feel like I'm producing faster, like I'm producing in a more fluent manner. And I think that's something that's improved in the past couple of streams, and it's it's definitely it's definitely something to look out for because you don't really know what it's like when you see people streaming. You think, hey, maybe I can do that. And it's probably true you could do that, but it just takes some practice, and you can't just if you're an introverted person, especially, you can't just go off and do everything that the person does on the stream. Although it's not as difficult, but it's not as easy as it looks. Annihilator Destroyer, Annihilator Destroyer. I think I know who you are. Are you let me guess, you wanted to have a bit of a different name. You wanted to have a bit of a different name before this one. Um, yes, so what, didn't it let you to have didn't it let you have it? Did it like ban you or something? But yeah, my favorite game, I don't have a favorite game. One favorite game, but I have a couple of favorite games. One of my favorite games is Warcraft 3 because of the just the childhood, playing it with my friends, the childhood sort of hangouts that we had. We went to an internet cafe, we would play various maps, and we would have a good time. Yes, Victoria, Blaziska, spot on, Max Payne. Um, Max Payne is really good, and it's something that I wanted to bring up some other time regarding different media implemented in video games. So Max Payne has a graphic novel, and it's really, really done in a super creative way. And another game is Medieval 2, and maybe we have Medieval 2. It's one of my favorite games ever. It's just super just well done, especially for the year that it was made. And if you want, we can do a stream. Maybe not right now, but maybe next week, if we're still locked down, maybe we can do a gaming stream where we just talk about various things and we play some medieval, we conquer some. How about we play as the Turks and we start a couple of jihads? That would be pretty fun. But um, another game I really like is Portal 2. I don't know, I just really liked it. It's really nice. It was a really good experience. Peter Kotowski says, we had an interesting chat about creating a story narrative inside a game that does not lead the player by directives, but instead expects the player to connect the dots by himself. Yes, so hopefully, maybe we should talk about this more because if we talk about this more, we will, by leaving enough. Okay, and later Destroyer says, I like Warcraft 3 also. Yes, so you're the epic friend that was gonna have another name. But Maybe YouTube didn't allow you. Shout out to Epic Destroyer, Annihilator. Um, so connect the dots by leaving enough overt clues to connect the dots, but not supply a direct command to the player. Yes, this is true. And we should talk about this more because if we sort of spread the message that this is a possibility, that this way of excuse me, this way of creating games is a possibility and that we have it in our game, then people will go into the game with the expectation that they will be able to do that. And maybe that will sort of facilitate their mm, facilitate their experience that that we want them to have, which is you don't sort of have everything served. Like in Skyrim, you're told exactly where you have to go. You have a little marker on the map, and you're told exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to kill 3 bears, 3 black bears. You're supposed to slay 15 frost spiders. Um, but in Sonder, and that's the goal that we want to have, is that we we have a world, we have a situation, and the character just literally wake up in the world, and they're thrown into this space where at first you don't know anything that's happening, and they know something that they have a prior knowledge of the world, but then as you use them to interact with the world, the perspective shifts and you become more aware of the world than the character. And in this way, you will be able to, um, you will have a situation where you will have a lot of control over the world, over the map or the space, and of course the story. So by having clues to how the story is going to progress next, and instead of rather than just being told what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to go, you will sort of be more engaged in the story as a kind of a narrator. So this is a very interesting new thing that we are bringing to the table. So not only are you going to play a game, not only are you going to be the characters, you're going to be part of the story by being, in a way, the narrator. And I think that's a really interesting concept that we're just starting to explore. It's definitely new, and we're gonna do something. We're gonna do interesting things, and every single success that we have with this, we're gonna develop it further, and it's gonna be more interesting, more fun, and we're sort of gonna contribute to the entire gaming scene, but also the entire art scene, because this can be used for so many different things. You have no idea how awesome this is. But um, yeah. So um, the one example of I guess so. What we want you to do is to sort of focus on the world in the game. We want you to understand what is going on, and we want you to use that understanding to your advantage in order to discover more about the world and in order to make the characters do what you want in the world. If that makes sense. Hopefully that is a good explanation of this concept. But what was it doing with the stories, the books, writing books? So, um, yeah, so once you write the outline, which is incredibly important, you sort of start by writing a first draft. And for me personally, I don't write a first draft of everything and then just go back and redo everything. I write a first draft of an initial part, if it's a chapter or a section of a story. I write that and then I go back and change it because I have an idea of what I want, of exactly what I want to happen in the story. So trouble is to, the only effort put into it is to just transfer that into the, to transfer the semantics into grammar, to create the sentence of the story. That is the challenge. It's not what I want the story to be. It's not what message I want it to convey, because that doesn't help you at all. I'm just shaking. I'm not. Mm, I'm I'm causing all kinds of earthquakes here. All kinds of earth. Um, let's check chat. All right. So, can you in the chat, the epic audience in the chat, tell us what your favorite games are, and maybe something about your favorite games, why you like them, why you find them interesting, or just what a bad game is, what makes some game that you don't like. And also, I shouldn't be clicking because it's probably too loud. Let us know if you want to do a gaming stream next week. Just a nice, casual gaming stream, because this is what we want. We want to show that we can have a bit more highbrow interactions, but also have fun. We want to have fun. That's what we want to do, because all of these, um, all these people are like all the Jimmies. They just have what, they have like celebrities talking about what nonsense, talking about their lives like we care, like we're supposed to care. And whoops, yes. Um, but they don't have anything substantive. They don't have anything of value in what they're talking about. They just have a talk show, but there's no substance. It's just like talking, but there is no conversing. Like when a couple goes to marriage counseling, they say, "We're talking, but we're not having a conversation." And that's exactly what happens in talk shows. But we want this to be an epic, interactive experience where we have big brain interactions, big brain conversations, while at the same time having fun. So next time maybe we'll do a gaming stream. And Annihilated Destroyer says, "What do you think about WoW, World of Warcraft?" I've never played World of Warcraft. I love Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 3 The Frozen Throne, but I don't like World of Warcraft because and it's an MMO, and I'm not a fan of MMOs. I'm not a fan of all of these games where you can just play them indefinitely and you sort of don't, you get a lot of entertainment out of them and you get a lot of social interaction and socializing with your friends and goofing around and having fun. And that's something valuable about it. Maybe that's interesting, but apart from that, I'm not a fan of this um, sort of like what would you call it? I guess super industrialized version of art. It's industrialized storytelling is what it is. So you just keep coming out with these stories in this world and people just keep coming back to play them. It's like when you have a show like for example, The Walking Dead, and you have the first season was good, the second season was good, and people loved it, and the third season was pretty decent, and then it just they realized that, oh, we got something going here. We got an epic franchise. That's what they call them. They call them franchises because they're just they're there to make money. That's basically what they care about. They care about money, and I think the MMOs are that way. They just don't want to create anything artistic or anything valuable. They're basically game social media. That's basically it. That's what MMOs are. And that's not to say that I condemn people playing them. That's not to say that people making them are bad or whatever. But in my opinion, that just there's just no not that much into them, and I'm not a fan personally. I prefer things that have some sort of clear, concise, artistically delivered message, something that is unique and something that you'll have the experience, and then the experience finishes, and then you're like, hey, you know what? I like that. That was good. But have you played any MMORPG game? Yes, I played this game called Perfect World. I was a teenager, played it with my friends. I actually got them all into it. It was pretty not good. It's pretty blue pill, but it was a fun time. It was a good time. We just hung around and we laughed. And back then we didn't even have good internet connection, so we're just constantly jumping out of the game. We're just disconnecting all the time, and we had bad computers, so we had all this lag. But it was a fun time. It was about hanging out with the squad, having a fun, interesting experience. And I don't know if you would count Dota as an MMO because, well, it's not an RPG. It's an MMO, but not an RPG. It's like a MOBA, right? Multiplayer online battle arena. I played that. I played the budget Overwatch. I played Paladins. Oof, I'm having a little bit of a lag here. A bit of a lag fest. Hello, lag check. Um, yeah. So let's get this down to that. Right. So maybe you would Max Payne. Victoria's favorite game is Max Payne. Max Payne is a really good game. Um, it's the graphic novel part is just especially interesting to me, especially cool. They wrote a graphic, so you could separate the graphic novel and just completely remove the game, and the graphic novel would sort of make sense. It can be like a standalone thing, which is so interesting to me. It's incredible. So good job to the guy who made Max Payne. He also made Alan Wake. Alan Wake is also another really cool, interesting game with an interesting story. Mm, so I don't know if we should just move the glasses here. We don't have a huge active chat today. Maybe because one of our core audience members is missing. One of our core people. But that's okay. Can't expect everyone to always tune in. But I'm really glad that we still made this happen because it was a bit of a weird it's a weird time. We're not allowed to go out. So I have to go get some get some tea. I actually have some coffee right here. It's good. I actually don't drink coffee at all, but right now I think I needed some energy. I needed a bit of a pick me up, and I'm gonna go get some tea now and maybe read a book. One of the countless books I got. Let me show you some books. I really need to read this one. I need to read this one. It's for my class. It's for my this paper that I'm writing. But yeah, maybe I'll start reading that one now and read some epic Shakespeare stuff. That's why. Let me show you some. I can reach just barely. Here's the books. One of the books that I was talking about last week. It's Almut. It's the book that Assassin's Creed is based on. So maybe I should start reading this. It's in Slovenian though, it's in the original. But I also have a translation which was done by an epic audience member. I'll just return it real quick. All right. Right, so that does it for this edition of the show. And next week, if we're still stuck indoors, I'll do a bit more of a setup. I'll start some streaming. Some video games so we can stream it and talk about it while it's still going on. And we're gonna role play a little bit. We're gonna be slaying some infidels, and I wish you all the best. I wish you a great weekend and an awesome week. My name is Martin Blajeski. Stay tuned every Friday at 5 p.m. GMT plus 1. And come on. See you around. And that's the end of the show. Just end it. Oops, definitely read Alamut. Dorleska says definitely read Alamut. I just didn't want to miss that. I will read Alamut. I really would like to. And I'm going to read something right now. It's probably going to be some historical stuff. But yeah, have a great day. See you next